Ain't no half stepping Marcus J. Obviously, I got that from a brother who recorded it with his little kid in the room, and he's telling Stephen A. to put it down, but he really did put it down, and I'm glad to be able to play that because he pretty much articulated a lot of what I've thought in the past. Roll call real quick. Tattoos. Carlton Banks. Any tattoos? You got any tattoos, man?
Nah, I'm scared of needles.
Dating Pool Diva. Any tattoos?
I have 3.
You have 3. Okay. Do you
Want
have?
to know where they are?
Yeah.
As long as they're appropriate.
Well, somebody turned around. I have a heart on my what is this, left arm, upper arm.
Okay.
It used to be a panther. You would have been proud of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it started to look really garbled and kind of like a big mole. So I covered it with the heart, and it's kind of like a decorative thing. Then I have one on my right calf. It's a Cupid because I represent love. I've always represented love. And my nickname, Sheikah, is under that. And then I have one on my hip, my left hip.
Wait a minute, that's 4.
No, I only mentioned 3.
No, you said shoulder.
Well, 2 so far.
Cupid has her name.
Oh, Cupid has a name. Oh, okay.
That's my name under.
Okay,
If you want to count that as 2 and a half.
I was counting that as 3 right there. Okay, you messed me all up.
And then on my hip, my left hip, I have some cherries. But let me explain that one. Okay, long story short, my leg went through a storm door when I was a child.
That's just too easy.
And it left a scar.
It was just too easy.
And so I didn't want to keep the scar on my hip. So I asked, what could I put there to cover up the scar? And cherries was,
No, you should have seen Tony's.
Tony
like.
don't give me that disapproving
So,
look, Mama.
Tony was like, what?
That's why you got tattoos?
Not anymore.
Okay. All right, Tony. How about you? Tony, you got tattoos?
Yes, I have 2.
Okay. Now, the reason why I brought it up, and I don't want to make a long segment out of this, but I did like the commentary that Stephen A. just dropped on us. What you guys think about face tattoos, neck tattoos, exposed tattoos, judging by the looks on your face? I know how y'all feel, but real quick, that's why.
Nope.
Diva?
It's stupid.
Tony?
Dumb.
Carlton Banks?
I think a little case. I didn't think it was a little case.
Say what?
I think he's trying to do a really poor Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it's very bad. I can't really do it right because
I'm gonna need him to stop doing that.
Ludicrous.
I got one too. I got one on my left, on my right bicep, and I was, I guess, 19 or 20 when I got it. It's probably one of the dumber things I've ever done in my life, but it's one
mental.
of
That's why.
I want to get mine.
It is
Where
what
is
it
it
is.
again?
It's right. It's on my right bicep. I didn't think about it. I walked into the tattoo parlor with my homie, and we was like, let's get tattoos. Like, what y'all gonna get? I don't know. Give me a book or something. I mean, that's how it was, so, but I knew then as a 19-year-old to not put it any place that would potentially hinder me based upon, you can say what you want about expression and all that's great, but when you're looking to express yourself and have somebody else pay you, that's when you're going to have a problem. And also when we talked in the past about for lack of a better term, creative names and things like that. I mean, the unfortunate reality is people are judgmental. Just because you got, a tribal tattoo over your eye, like Mike Tyson is, Carlton was trying miserably to replicate in the voice. It just ain't gonna work out. I don't think that I could walk into my 9 to 5 with a tribal tattoo on my face and have the same level of respect amongst my peers in management as I would have now. And even if I owned my own business, which we all aspire at some point to work for ourselves, but I mean, you still have to sell your business. You still have to appeal to a certain clientele. And is it fair? No, it's not. We all should be able to live and do and all the things that we want. But the truth of the matter is people are judgmental and they're going to feel some kind of way. I think Steven alluded to how sometimes these cats look like prison inmates. And, you know, I don't know that I would quite go that far, but I understand why somebody would say that, Carlton Banks.
Is that Birdman with the ice cream on his face?
I know
that's Gucci Man?
Gucci Man.
Yeah, it's Gucci Man.
Yeah, Gucci Man, yeah.
If I had that on my face and I went to jail, I'm going to scratch that off myself.
Well, it's covering up something else.
I'm just saying, if I had that on my face and I went to jail, I'm covering that up real quick. It's covering
up something else. Ain't no half Steppin with Marcus J. At this time, what I want to do, well, first of all, I want to tease the Dating Pool Diva, what she's here to do. In the next segment, we will be getting into the Diva Diaries, which is our relationship segment we do every single month. Definitely looking forward to that. We'll definitely have ample time to get to all of that. As we've been doing, it's the final Monday of the month, which is Black History Month. I wanted to take tonight to highlight the ladies. And so each of us has a person that we're going to profile. And my man Carlton Banks, you're up first, man. Who you got? Who you profiling tonight?
You know, I got my girl Bessie Coleman. Bessie Coleman was one of the first, well, she is the first Black woman to earn her pilot's license. She wanted to get it so bad that she learned French and went to France to get her license from the famed Quadron Brothers School of Aviation in just 7 months. Now, of course, she couldn't come here and get her license because at the time, not only was there sexual discrimination, but there was racial discrimination against her. So therefore, that's why she went abroad to get it. She still couldn't fly when she came back, so she decided she wanted to become a barnstormer expert, and she did that for quite some time. She even wanted to start her own flying school here for African Americans, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So again, like I alluded to earlier, she specialized in stunt flying and parachuting and earned a living as barnstorming and performing aerial tricks. In 1922, hers was the first public flight by an African American woman in America.
Bessie Coleman.
I think I can fly.
Sister Bessie Coleman. Yeah, man. Ain't no half Steppin with Marcus J.
Ain't as good as my brother who did the lawnmower, though.
Oh, good grief.
That was so funny.
No, yeah, he got me a couple of weeks ago. For those folks who are new to the show, Carlton Banks, he had the brother who invented the lawnmower.
No, he
made changes to it. He made changes to the lawnmower, and instead of just reading the script as you know we had, he shocked me and screaming at me and
because what were you doing?
Freaked me out. I was waving at him to stick to the script.
Like, come on, read it.
Stick to the script.
Like we can't read.
Fingers on the table, you know, like look here, boy.
It wasn't.
That clip is on YouTube, so just go ahead and look that up next week.
It ain't like that now. Y'all tripping.
It was hilarious. I laughed every time I heard it.
And I have Steppin Marcus J. Tony. Who you got?
I have Madam Maggie Lena Walker, aka Maggie L. Walker. Her mother married a co-worker. Actually, she was born in July of 1867. Her mother married a co-worker named William Mitchell, and Maggie took his last name. Mr. Mitchell disappeared and was found a few days later drowned. It was assumed that he'd been robbed and murdered, and so her mother was kind of forced to take in laundry to support the family. Maggie ended up graduating from normal school in 1883. A protest by the 10 African American students over being forced to graduate in a church led to a compromise allowing them to graduate at their school, and shortly afterwards she began teaching there. It was not Maggie's first involvement in something beyond the ordinary for a young girl. In high school, she joined a fraternal organization in Richmond called the Independent Order of St. Luke's Society. This organization provided health insurance and burial benefits for members and was also involved in self-help and racial pride activities. Maggie Walker helped form a juvenile division of the society as well. Maggie married Armstead Walker Jr. after meeting him at church. She did have to give up her job, as was usual for teachers who married, and soon put more efforts into volunteer work with the Independent Order of St. Luke. She was elected secretary in 1899 at a time when the society was on the brink of failing. Instead, she took on a major membership drive, lecturing not only in and around Richmond, but around the country. She built it up to more than 100,000 members in more than 20 states. In 1903, Maggie Walker saw an opportunity for the society and formed a bank. called the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, and she served as president of the bank until 1932. This made her the first known woman president of a bank in the United States.
Maggie L. Walker, #Steppin with Marcus J, the dating pool diva. Actually, before you get that, let me get a couple of comments in social media. Joy is saying it's too much. She's going back to the tattoos. She's saying that it's too much. She says that she actually has 5. 1 on the chest and 4 on the back. You can only see the one that's on her chest, and she's saying it's too much. She's alluding to the ones that are very, very visible. Stephen Sykes, Mr. LP of Enliven Radio, heard right here on Legacy Internet Radio every single Tuesday from 7 to 9. He agrees that the tattoos have gotten out of hand, the excessive ones you see everyday people and athletes. He prays that their health will be okay in the future. All that ink is not healthy. He is saying that he has no tattoos because his grandmother would kick his ass. Michelle K says that she has 1 tattoo herself, just haven't had the. She says she would like to. I'm sorry, she doesn't have any. She would like to have 1. She just ain't got the nerve to do it. Ain't I step on Marcus J. Diva, who you got for Black History?
All right. Well, I have Phyllis Wheatley. As an author myself, I'm really excited to talk about her because she was the first Black poet in America to publish a book. She was born about 1753 in West Africa and brought to New England in 1761, where John Wheatley of Boston purchased her as a gift for his wife. Although they brought her into the household as a slave, the Wheatleys took a great interest in Phyllis's education. She learned to read and write English by the age of 9, and she became familiar with Latin, Greek, the Bible, and selected classics at a very early age. She began writing poetry at 13, modeling her work on the English poets of the time. Her poem on the death of the Reverend Mr. George Whitefield was published as a broadside in cities such as Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, and garnered Wheatley national acclaim. This poem was also printed in London. Wheatley's doctor suggested that a sea voyage might improve her delicate health, so in 1771 she accompanied Nathaniel Wheatley on a trip to London. She was well received in London and wrote to a friend of the unexpected, unmerited civility and compliance with which I was treated by all. That was a quote. In 1773, 39 of her poems were published in London as poems on various subjects, religious and moral. The book includes many elegies as well as poems on Christian themes. It also includes poems dealing with race, such as the often anthologized on being brought from Africa to America. She returned to America in 1773. After Mr. and Mrs. Wheatley died, Phyllis was left to support herself as a seamstress and poet. It is unclear precisely when Wheatley was freed from slavery, although scholars suggest it occurred between 1774 and 1778. Phyllis Wheatley, who had once been internationally celebrated, died alone in a boarding house in 1784. That's sad to hear.
Yeah, it is.
She was 31 years old. Many of the poems for her proposed second volume disappeared and have never been recovered. It's kind of sad at the end there.
Yeah, I step on Marcus J. That's why. What you got over there, girl?
Well, I have Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, born on July 10th, 1875 in Maysville, South Carolina. Miss Mary was a child of former slaves. She graduated from Scotia Seminary School in 1893, and believing that education provided the key to racial advancement, she founded the Daytona Normal and Industrial Institute in 1904, which became the Bethune-Cookman College. She founded the National Council of Negro Women in 1935. She grew up in poverty as one of 17 children born to slaves. Everyone worked in the fields, mostly picking cotton. She became the one and only child in her family to go to school when a missionary opened nearby for African American children. Traveling miles each way, she walked to school each day and did her best to share her newfound knowledge with her family. In addition to her work at the schools, she did do a lot of contributing to the American society at large. She served as the president of Florida chapter of the National Association for Colored Women. In 1924, she became the organization's national leader, beating out Ida B. Wells. She also became involved in the government servicing by lending her expertise to several presidents. President Calvin Coolidge invited her to participate in his conference on child welfare. President Herbert Hoover asked that she served on his commission for home building and home ownership and was appointed to the Committee on Child Health. But her most significant role in the public service came from Franklin D. Roosevelt.
And you know how stepping with Marcus J. I have Isabella Baumfree. Most people know her as Sojourner Truth. She was born into slavery. She, of course, had the name Baumfree, which was after her father's owner. She was sold several times. While owned by John Dermott, her family lived in New York. She had 5 children. Actually, she married a fellow by the name of Thomas, which was one of Dumont's slaves. She had 5 children with Thomas. In 1827, New York law emancipated all slaves, but Isabella had already left her husband and run away with the youngest child. She went to work for a family called Isaac Van Wagenen, I believe was the patriarch there. While working for the Van Wagenens, whose name she used briefly, she discovered that a member of the Dumont family had sold one of her children to slavery in Alabama. Since this son had been emancipated under New York law, Isabella sued in court and won his return. In 1843, she took the name Sojourner Truth, believing this to be on the instructions of the Holy Spirit, and became a traveling preacher, which is where she got the name from. In the late 1840s, she connected with the abolitionist movement, becoming a popular speaker. In 1850, she began speaking on women's suffrage. Her most famous speech, Ain't I a Woman, was given in 1851 at a women's rights convention in Ohio. During the Civil War, Sojourner Truth raised food and clothing contributions for black regiments and met with Abraham Lincoln at the White House in 1864. While she was there, she tried to challenge discrimination that segregated streetcars by race. After the war ended, Sojourner Truth again spoke widely, advocating for some time a Negro state in the West. She spoke mainly to white audiences and mostly on religion, Negro and women's rights, and on temperance. Though immediately after the Civil War, she tried to organize efforts to provide jobs for black refugees of the war. Sojourner Truth. So we go around the room. Carlton Banks, we started with you. Who did we have? We started with
Bessie Coleman.
And then we had
Maggie Walker.
And then after Maggie Walker, we had
Phyllis Wheatley.
And
then
Mary McLeod Bethune.
And finally, Sojourner Truth. We went around the room. We had our Black History Month celebration of the sisters. And I appreciate everybody for listening to us tonight. Hang in there. We got the Diva Diaries after this final break. Before we get to that, Marcus J. Ain't no half stepping with the crew. And we getting ready to start filming in here. So you ain't going to see it live. But when you hit us up on YouTube later on in the week, you will see this particular segment. So if you want to see us in here, and you want to see the energy that we bring with regards to our segments in here, you can certainly make sure that you check us out. Marcus J. S.Y., the Diva. We got Tony Carlton Banks. We got Mr. LP in here as our technical support tonight. Want to give him some love as well as you guys on MixLR social media. Hang in there. We back in a minute.